Hi everybody, and welcome to Squeeze the World Toys. I'm Patrick, and this is the Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger Kyutama Gattai Series number 13, Deluxe Orion Battler. Now, before we begin, just a couple of precautions. I think our neighbors just started working on things, so you may hear some banging going on outside. My roommate just got a dog recently. She's downstairs right now. I don't have a door on the geek room here, so I don't know how she's going to react to this thing because it does make noises. So with those disclaimers out of the way, the Orion Battler. Now, I just got done today. For reference is, I believe, November 12th. And I didn't just get this. And in fact, I'm so far behind on things that, right after recording this, I'm going to start putting up the Cerberus Voyager video, and I made that video like a month and a half ago. I got this like 3 weeks to a month ago. I'm just behind on all sorts of things. And earlier today, I actually went and marathoned all of the Kyuranger and Kamen Rider build that I've missed out on so far, so I'm just catching up on the story. So I've actually had Orion Battler longer than I've known the actual context of it in the show. Either way, the Orion Battler / the Battler or the Battle Orion ship, which is this other form, is basically a replacement for the Orion Go, which is the ship that the Kyurangers have been bopping around in. It sacrificed itself to destroy the enemy, and they have subsequently replaced it with this through details I'm not going to be going into because don't really feel like going into all sorts of details. But as you could probably tell, this box is freaking huge. I basically have it like on the far end of the table here, and it's just barely fitting in frame. This is a big old box, and it's basically set up so that I'm just struggling to reach it from here, and the back of the box is just like another front, more or less, as you can see. So what we've been looking at, what I consider to be the front of the box, shows the Orion Battler itself, as well as a little picture of the Battle Orion ship up here. Some words saying something about a big robot. There are sounds. This thing makes noises, and also comes with 2 Kyutamas, which is cool. The other side of the box basically is a huge image of, let me just pan this down to get it better in frame, the Battle Orion ship surrounded by all of the other Voyagers with the exception of Ho-Oh Voyager. And it also shows that there's like a whole little launch mechanic, which we'll go over later, with the little Saucery Voyager coming off of there. The top of the box shows the I believe, I should have looked up the name of this earlier. I think it's called the Orion Bazooka mode, and also a picture of Shishi Red's Orion form. I'll get to that in a bit. The bottom of the box is actually just kind of another side, and we'll show like this transforms into this, and then the sides show this little splash image of all the other Voyagers, along with all of these Kyuranger faces, again with the exception of Ho-Oh Soldier, because each of these characters has voice clips in the sound playback on the toy. So that's kind of a cool thing. And then like the last side shows all of the, if I pan up again, all the different modes: the Battle Orion ship, the Q Voyager launch mode, the Orion Battler mode, and the Ultimate Galaxy or Q-Kyoku Galaxy mode. As you could probably tell by the name, the Orion Battler is based off of the constellation Orion the Hunter. That's actually a constellation I didn't have to look up this time because everyone knows about Orion. That's like the first constellation I knew of as a kid. So that's who it's based off, Orion the Hunter. And unlike every other Voyager up to this point, with the exception of Cerberus Voyager, with it being a special case, it is actually not used by a separate ranger. It's actually used by Shishi Red in his Orion mode, or Shishi Red Orion. And if you will allow me to digress a bit, I find it kind of weird that at this point they didn't just go like the whole hog and put another Ranger in here, because they already have 12. What are they missing out on? I would have liked for there to be an Orion White or something like that, because I mean, the Kyutama here, just real quick, it's a white Kyutama, and even Shishi Red Orion is a white color. So I think it's kind of funny how they've used like every Sentai color under the sun for this team, except white. I mean, you have your staple ones. You have your red, blue, and yellow, which are all basically standard. You have your black, your green, your pink. You have your gold and silver, which are normally used for 6th Rangers, but there they are. You even have very, very seldom used colors like purple and orange and cyan or sky blue or whatever you want to call it, and another red Ranger. You don't have a white Ranger, and white is actually a color that's that's used quite often in Sentai. So I just find that kind of odd and interesting. But anyway, let's get to the Kyutama. This is Kyutama number 13. That's why it's number 13 in the series, because it's named after the Kyutama, not when they made it. But it's the Orion Kyutama. Slide on there, and it's a dude with a club. Much like the Ryu Kyutama, mine's kind of off-center a bit with the slide, but it's a dude with a club, as you would expect Orion be. Also, interestingly enough, this actually has kind of a gold base on it, rather than the standard silver or gray that we've seen up to this point. The other Kyutama that was included is actually one that I haven't seen in the show yet. This is a special Kyutama called, I think it's the All Voyager Kyutama, and it actually doesn't have a number, it has just SP on it. And there is a gold inlay of the Shishi Red symbol, or the Shishi Voyager symbol, and if we slide it, we'll see all of the other Voyager or Kyuranger symbols. From clockwise, we have the Scorpion, or for Sasori Orange, the Wolf for Okami Blue, the Scales for Tenbin Gold, Bull for Oshi Black, the Cobra there for Hibitsukai Silver, the Chameleon for Chameleon Green, the Eagle at the bottom for Washi Pink, the Swordfish for Kajiki Yellow, the Dragon there for Ryu Commander, the Little Bear for Koguma Sky Blue, the Phoenix for Ho-Oh Soldier, and the Orion symbol for Orion Battler. Again, probably should have been like an Orion White, especially if this is any indication. But they did mention in the show that after the Orion Go went sentient and sacrificed itself, that they did always consider the ship to be the 13th Kyuranger. Isn't that nice? Anyway, this has never been seen in the show. It's just kind of a nice little thing that they've included. So I've kind of been more or less displaying it next to the Pegasus Kyutama, which I really don't have any other thing to do with it. But yeah, so next up we have basically another major piece to the whole thing, the Orion Voyager. The Kyutama just clips onto the back like you would expect at this point. Much like how all of the other Voyagers went onto the butt, we have this one. Let me just adjust the camera here. It's kind of off-center and weird. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's just kind of like a standard spaceship thing with a star-shaped Gatling gun of sorts slapped on the front. But this is more or less just kind of part of the Battle Orion ship. I mean, it does separate and do its own thing. In fact, when they found the Orion the Battle Orion ship, I keep wanting to say Orion Battleship, but it's Battle Orion ship. I didn't name it, that's just how it is. This was actually like the piece they got later that combined it with it and made what it's supposed to be. So let's back the camera up a bit so we can see this better. Again, sorry for my totally professional camera work here. So then we've got the Battle Orion ship itself, and it is pretty big. Also, something you might have noticed here, I've pretty much done away with putting the toy back into the box, especially with something this big. Sorry, my PS3 is auto-turning on because it's checking for updates and stuff. This is just way too big, and there's just way too much garbage involved with that. So I'm not going to do that anymore. Anyway, basically the way this works is that we disconnect the Kyutama from the Orion battler, and there's a bit of a plug on the bow of the ship. That will just plug onto there, and then the Kyutama will go on basically this arm here. This will just clip on like this. And this is basically what the Battle Orion ship looks like by default. There are treads down here that have wheels on them, much like Oshi Voyager does. And there's even some little boosters in the back here. There is a switch you can push forward to have a little exhaust come out. That's mainly for a visual effect on the robot mode, but I do like to push that out sometimes. And there is a button on the side here which you can use to play some sounds. Now, there aren't any lights on this, but there is a sound function built in as shown on the box, and it's actually powered by like little built-in like those little like hearing aid batteries. So I didn't have to buy new batteries for this, but it has, much like the other toys in the series, has multiple sound modes. So you basically tap the button to play the next sound in the sequence, and then you hold the button to go on to the next sound mode. So let's put it into the Battle Orion ship sound mode, and I don't know how the dog is going to react to this, so let's fingers crossed she doesn't react. So there you go. So it's in this mode here. So there's some sound effects, very similar to Ho-Oh Voyagers, where like it plays its little theme song and also makes attack noises. But here we go. That's that. There's the theme song there. Doesn't play for nearly as long as Ho-Oh Voyagers, I've noticed, but I'm still going to skip through it. Then laser noises. I think that's the Orion cannon. One thing it did in the show was it connected the Kyutama and made the a big cannon laser shot come out the front. I think that's it, unless it's going to go to the whoop whoop noise again. Oh, nope. That's the Gatling noise. Then the whoop whoop noise. Yep, the whoop whoop noise. So that's kind of a cool thing. If you'd like to play along at home and emulate the Orion cannon thing, this is actually kind of an arm here that can swivel back and forth. And there's also... Sorry, I didn't mean to hit the button. This will actually twist the Kyutama into, different positions, and you can push it forward to connect the Kyutama to whatever's basically hooked in there. That's going to be more important in the Q Voyager launch mode. Which will actually let's go ahead and get to that, because that's one of the main reasons for using this thing. So hold down the button. So that's basically what it's saying when you're doing like this. So if you push it far enough forward, it's actually going to click the Kyutama onto the Orion Voyager itself, and then you can push it back and it'll let go, and then put it back in a position like that, and it's ready to launch. Now this is actually a compatible thing with 9 of the other 12 Voyagers, and if you once you play it, once it plays that noise, you push the button again. That's basically the noise for the Voyager, undocking and taking off. Now, from here, it's actually going to cycle through those noises again, but for each Voyager, so Shishi Voyager through Kuma Voyager, Ho-Oh Voyager is actually not included in this, and basically every other Voyager can fit on here, with the exception of Shishi Voyager, Ryu Voyager, and Ho-Oh Voyager. So it'll basically play those two types of sounds in sequence for each of the remaining Voyagers. And like the first time it will say like, you know, blah blah Voyager, and then Raptor. That's actually Raptor's voice, Washi Pink, saying like, okay, go ahead and take off, and then say is the docking. And then when you push it again, it will play, instead of saying take off, it will play a voice clip from whatever Ranger is associated with that Voyager. Now I'm actually going to cut away to a bunch of basically some separate clips of that going on, so that I'm not going to waste too much time. But basically, the way this is going to work out is that, with the exception of Shishi and Ryu Voyager, which can't fit in here in any way, nor can they actually have their Kyutamas loaded in by the arm here. Each of the ones that turn into limbs can fit onto either of these runway ports, and then you can load the Kyutama in and hook it onto the Voyager. And in order to fit the Voyagers on there, they're basically got to be in some variation of their leg mode. Most of them are just going to be in their leg modes. I know the Scorpion is in its leg mode, except the Scorpion legs are opened up, and the two humanoid ones have their arm parts to the sides rather than behind them. So even with Hibitsukai Voyager, you have to actually take the snake head apart and put the arms down by the sides. And also with the Kuma Voyager, it's basically in its right leg mode, so that the baby bear is facing the outside. But each of these ports will have 3 different Voyagers associated with them that can actually fit on there. So the 2 humanoid ones and the bull will fit onto the port side. It's actually shown in little pictures on these panels here, so I'm just kind of using those as reference. The Scorpion, the Eagle, and the Swordfish will all go on to the one on the bow. And for starboard, the Wolf, the Bear, and the Chameleon will all fit on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut away to the remaining sounds in the sequence, as well as loading the Kyutamas onto the Voyagers themselves, just to show that off. I just don't want to do that right now because I have everything assembled off to the side here, so I'm just going to cut to that. Yeah. Just for reference, this only will fit this way. If you try to spin it this way to put it in like default, it's actually going to hit the wing and it won't connect, so yeah. Now, wasn't that exciting? Alright, so now we're going to go on to the third mode for the whole shebang, and that's pretty much the main event here, the Orion battler itself. So we're going to go into the third mode on the sounds. And for the transformation, first off and foremost, we're going to put this arm, the Kyutama arm, loading arm, all the way forward. The bow here is going to actually separate and come out a bit. They're going to lock into place like these, because these are going to be the legs. Then you just flip it up and around so that the bottom is facing you and the bow is downward, because, again, that's the legs. This arm just kind of comes out there. Take Orion Voyager, and this will actually bend like this to make an arm holding a club. You can even see the fist there. And this, much like any other robot up to this point, is going to hook into here via the Kyutama. Then for the dramatic head reveal, as we always do on this show, hopefully we won't mess this up like we normally do. We're going to bring the panel down like this, reveal the face, and then back here we're going to slide the exhaust switch up to make the little flames come up. And this is the Orion Battler, and oh boy, is it big. Now, pretty much every other robot up to this point, Kyureno, Ryuteo, Gigantoo, and Kerberios have all been about the same height. But this actually has some height above anything else. Here's Kyureno right here. That's got some height on him, which is pretty neat. So we actually have a properly big robot, although it does still look good, you know, alongside everything else. I actually like the color scheme on him. You really can't go wrong with a nice solid, you know, dark blue and white color. It also has all the little lights on here are basically in the same sort of configuration that the Orion constellation is. And you even got the biggest, brightest star. I don't remember if that's Sirius or Betelgeuse. That I can't remember off the top of my head. But basically whatever's the right shoulder on the actual constellation is the Kyutama, because it's the most predominant thing there. The articulation, as you might expect, is the same as all the other robots. It's just the arms move, which is fine. It's just, nice and consistent there. And as you might expect, there are noises that play with it. Is there another one? I think it just goes between the two. Yep, it just goes between the two. So that first noise is what would play like after the during the transformation, and then it'll just go back and forth between the fighting noises, which is fine. So yeah, it looks really cool. It's very big. Much like other Sentai robots, there's no articulation on it, but we've come to expect that so far, so I don't really have any disappointment with that. And lastly, there is a fourth mode, the aforementioned Ultimate or Kyukoku Galaxy mode, which is used for the super final attack that every single Voyager is a part of. And what we're going to be doing to kind of initiate that, I mean, there is also, Kyukoku Galaxy is also used in the robot mode, but we're actually going to change it into that fourth mode, which is the Orion Bazooka. I think that's what it's called. I don't really remember, but that's what I'm going with for right now. So we'll basically just transform this back into the ship mode. Take the Orion Voyager back out. Luckily the transformation is really simple and we can get it back to the way it was fairly quickly. And then we're going to just plop the Orion Voyager back onto its spot, but leave the Kyutama on it. So basically, this is used by the three robots, Kyureno, Ryuteo, and Giganto. Mostly, I want to say in their default configurations, but on the show I've seen the limbs on Ryuteo and Kyureno were swapped. Either way, we need something to do with the other three Voyagers. Remember how I keep complaining that the other three Voyagers aren't really getting a spot in anything? All we can really do with them is just kind of awkwardly like pose them. If we're displaying these, we just kind of awkwardly pose them alongside the other ones. And Washi Voyager looks the most left out because the other two are at least humanoid and can pose along the other humanoid things, except this. Well, these actually do have a spot on the bazooka itself. So what we do, we take the humanoid ones, we basically kneel them down, so put the legs into their most folded up positions we can, and just kind of put their arms to the side. Kind of like that. So, Tenbin Voyager here is going to actually just kind of sit on this platform here. There's actually indentations for him to just kind of kneel. There's a place for his, let me just make sure I'm putting in the right place. Sorry if it looks a little off here, but there's places for the feet, there's places for the knees, and he just kind of sits there. It doesn't clip on or anything like that. And then do the same thing with Hibitsukai Voyager. Knees all the way in, arms to the sides, and he'll basically sit on the other platform on the other side. Now for Washi Voyager, what we do is we take this the Kyutama arm here and twist it all the way around so that the flat part is facing the top. And there's actually some grooves on here. I know it's kind of hard to see from this distance, but there's actually grooves on there where Washi Voyager can just kind of sit. Again, no clipping on or anything like that, but basically made specifically for that purpose. And this is the Orion bazooka. So you can basically take your other robots. I know he's still holding the swords, but I don't care. So we'll put like him there. Of course, Kyuranger is in the center. He's trying to fit all these on the table. You can barely see him with the eagle in the way. Here, let's kind of do a semi-side view. Maybe that'll be better. See if I can reach all the way around and get these in place. It's kind of futile, but Ryuteo here. And this is basically the ultimate galaxy mode. So let's go ahead and activate the and that's your lot. That's like the most super epic thing. It's very, very, very final attack. Very final for the... I mean, it's not like the final configuration or a final attack for the entirety of the series or anything like that. There is still one more thing that's come out since, but as far as everything, I think it's nice at the very least that we do have representation for every single Voyager here. It's just not very practical to display it like this, but it still looks pretty cool. I know Gigantoa is off-center for that, but I don't care. I'm not going to knock everything over trying to mess around with that. He's already kind of off the table a little bit as it is. But anyway, yeah, that's the Orion Voyager, and not Orion Voyager, Orion Battler itself and everything, and it's pretty great. I like this a lot. It really ties everything together as far as this series goes. I know that there is one more entry, and I actually have ordered it, and it's already on the way, and I'll get to that later. But I do want to show off one more thing, and that's what do the alt sides of the Kyutamas look. Basically, their cockpit modes. Well, the Orion Kyutama does have the cockpit showing Shishi Red Orion in it, and the all Voyager Kyutama looks a bit different. I'm actually going to show them off through Kyuranger here, like as we normally do. Seeing as this is part of the Kyutama Gattai series, the Orion Voyager is fully compatible with other robots that have Kyutama ports for arms. Granted, with the way that it's set up, it can only really work as a right arm. So it can still fit in like the leg parts or anything like that, but it's kind of impractical. But I'm going to go ahead and just hook that into Kyuranger here. And also for Orion Battler, you can fit any other limb Voyager into its Kyutama port there. So this is basically Kyuranger with a giant club, and we're going to put the all Voyager Kyutama in the chest here. I'm going to turn this on, because I still have the batteries in that. Okay, so let's zoom in on the Kyutamas just to show what they look like, while basically light shining through them. I went through basically two light cycles or two sound cycles just to kind of give a better visual effect here. So obviously, like I said, you can see the Shishi Red Orion in his cockpit for the Orion Battler. And this kind of shows sort of a picture of the Battle Orion ship launching all of the Voyagers out. So that's, you know, kind of a nice thing. Again, this wasn't really used in this isn't shown in the show or used in the show. It's just kind of a nice extra thing, and you know, I appreciate freebies like that. They didn't have to put extra Kyutama in, but they did, and I guess I thank them. That's how that song goes, right? So let's just transform this guy back into his robot mode for the conclusion of the video here. And yeah, all in all, Orion Battler is pretty neat. I like this a lot. I mean, I better like it. I spent a lot of money. I think this is like, I want to say the retail price for this, off the top of my head, I think is like 8,500 yen, which is about, in terms of US dollars, it's a little bit less than 85. I got it off HobbyLink Japan. HobbyLink Japan usually sells things for, you know, kind of at a discount. So I paid about 80,000, or not 80,000. 80,000 yen would have been $800. About 8,000 yen for this, maybe a little over that. And just if you do plan on getting one, do be aware, because of the sheer size of this guy, there is going to be a big box. And I tell no lie, the box was freaking enormous when it got here. Yeah. You will probably be paying about the same amount for the toy as you would in shipping because it's so big and heavy. But that is that is what we have to deal with when you get into these kinds of hobbies. But yeah, I mean, if you're willing to get past the high price for it, this is still a good toy. I do recommend it. It is a lot of fun. I do enjoy, you know, posing it next to the other stuff on their spot on the floor, and I do mess around with the robots and stuff, you know, put them together and whatnot, and it is fun to put them into different you know, attack positions and stuff like that. So I do recommend Orion Battler, but you just have to, again, get past the price point. So next time, there is at least one more entry in the Kyutama Gattai series, and that is Kojishi Voyager. I do have mine. It hasn't shipped yet, but I did order it. It is, I do believe that it is the final entry in the series. We are at episode 36, and that's usually when they start introducing final mecha for the show. And episode 36 was where Kojishi Voyager made its appearance, and Super Q-Reno. So I do think that's going to be the last entry in the series, which is fine, considering that it's like a small, like, $20 auxiliary mech thing, which is, you know, kind of funny for, you know, endgame stuff like that. But still, it's nice to have a cheap thing coming, as opposed to this monstrosity here, which was like $150 or more after shipping. But regardless, I am looking forward to. I am having fun collecting these, but I am looking forward to finally being done with spending so much money on these. So I'm looking forward to that. I've been scratching the deluxe mecha itch, and that's all she wrote for it. So I'm pretty much going to be done with collecting these for another 10 years. That said, yeah, check out Orion Voyager if you can, you again get past the price point. Totally worth it. But yeah, just look forward to Kojishi Voyager, possibly those Transformers videos I've been alluding to for the past months and months or so, but I'll probably never get to those. Eventually. Yeah, whatever. I'll see you next time.